Hello, Teacher Ann here. We're going to do a great portrait of a famous artist by the name of Audrey Hepburn, one of my favorite artists. And I do want to get started. Here she is, an image of her. This is my inspiration, a photograph. You see that? She was very, very popular, very, very slight, beautiful eye features here. A bit of eyeliner on her eyes, eyebrows, dark hair. Um, I did short hair this time, so it'd be easier to draw. She's got a satin collared, beautiful dress on, very gorgeous. So let's see if we can get started with the portrait and get all those measurements done. Here is my portrait. So let's get started. I'm going to switch to camera two. Today, you're going to need a regular piece of paper, 8.5 by 11. You're going to hold it this way, portrait style, not landscape. And you're going to be using a couple of pencils here, 6B regular from your regular graphite pencil set. And then we're going to be using 7B black and 8B black from the dark black graphite pencil set. We're going to use a blending stump plus Kleenex tissue to help us with blending of the facial features. Um, and your electric eraser. So let's get started. I'm going to switch to camera two so you can see exactly what I'm doing on the surface of my desktop as I do this image. So let's get started. Audrey Hepburn. Hmm. Got a lot of things here out in front. Mm. I don't always like to keep the portrait out there, but to kind of help you to understand where we're headed, I will. Okay. I'm going to develop a portrait in 5 steps. So, phase one, what do I see? A guideline. Drop your guidelines, like I always say. In half this way and this way. I got a little ahead of you. But take a look at her head. It's very, very narrow. She's slight in build. So got a pointed chin, somewhat kind of squared off. So follow exactly what I'm doing here. I'm going to start about 3 fingers width from the top for her head, and the chin kind of comes down maybe 4 fingers width to the bottom of the baseline here. So somewhere's in here is where that facial feature is going to be. So follow what I'm doing. I'm going to come down, come around, stop, kind of come down a little bit, come through, and then angle off my chin like that. Up, I'm kind of sketching, if you will. Stop, kind of come up a little bit. I want a squared off chin. And kind of widen her head a little bit up here, and then come around and in. There it is. That first facial feature is really important. So take your time and they don't rush. If you feel like you got to go a little narrower, you can kind of develop that a little bit. I'll come in a little bit, come down. I'm going to come in a little bit here and come down there. She's got a neckline, a gorgeous neckline. So let's kind of come in here and come down. Whoop, and like that and stop. You can narrow the face a little bit if you need to, just kind of structure it as you work. I will too. Come in a little bit, narrower, and down. Take my electric eraser here, cleaning it up a bit. There. Don't rush with this. The initial structure will kind of dictate the rest of the portrait from now on. So you want to be good with this one. Sure, it's pretty narrow. It looks pretty good on my end. No, kind of happy with that. There. Take your time. I do want to get the mastoid muscle here. We talked about that. You can see it in Teacher Ann's neckline. There is this mastoid muscle that holds up your head. If I turn sideways this way, and that way it's this big muscle. So let's make her look a little bit more elegant. I'll kind of drop a little line for a mastoid muscle. And I'll go on. Hope you can see this. I'm going to do a different set of guidelines. I'm no stranger to doing lots of guidelines when I work. So what you're going to do is go in there and erase these guidelines that we have. We centered Audrey's face, but now we got to do the centering and the positioning of the eyes and the nose and the mouth. So, all right, when we're working with portrait, I tell students we're going to divide the head in half. So coming in here, I'm going to kind of divide it in half. I curve it a little bit because our face is curved. It's not flat, it's more solid. So I curve it a little bit. The lower half, I'm going to divide that in half too. So maybe about here. The upper half, I'll divide that in half too, curve it. This is where the bangs will be, the hairline, the eye line, the nose line, maybe a little higher, and then the mouth somewhere's down in here. You get your lines. Then we're going to start drawing. Now, normally there's a measurement about 5 eyes going across the widest area of a person's face. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But my rule of thumb is to make sure there's a little bit of space for the bridge of the nose, and it's about 2 fingers width. For Audrey, her eyes are pretty widely spaced. That makes her beautiful. Generally speaking, the more widely spaced a person's eyes are, the more beautiful they tend to be. It is just, the science of that. So, um, thinking about 2 fingers width, as you're looking at my drawing here, somewhere like that. I'm going to do a little line maybe here and here to kind of help me to understand where I'm going to, space those eyes. The eyes are kind of small on this drawing, um, kind of realistic, kind of like the size of my face, maybe my hand up there. Um, but the eyes are pumpkin seed shapes. They're gorgeous. So I kind of come up from that line, up, over, around. Her eyes kind of go down and like this shape, like a pumpkin seed shape, if you will. Same over here, kind of goes up, over, kind of down, and a pumpkin seed shape. Make sure the eyes are the exact same size on either side. You don't want to go off too much with that. Take your time with it. Inside there is the pupil, and in this case, it's her iris and her pupil. So it's a circular shape. Doesn't have to be perfect, but make sure you get it in there, and they're pretty evenly spaced. I'm adjusting mine, erasing a little bit here, maybe taking all that out. I don't want her to have droopy eyes. I want them to be gorgeous. So something like that. There, that looks pretty good. Continuing on, there is an eyelid. I've got a lot of space between the eyes. She's so pretty. I'm going to do an eyelid. It kind of cascades right above the eye, maybe a quarter of an inch above. And hers kind of go down like that and like that. Don't make a big deal of it. Just get it done. Measurements. All right. I'm going to start pulling out this, which helps us. We're going to try to do the nostrils. Now, generally speaking, the canthus, this is your tear duct. They call it the canthus, fancy word. I'm going to drop a plumb line straight down, and this is where her nostrils are going to line up. So, going back to her, down on this line here, about here, I'm going to drop a plumb line. This is one nostril, and down here, the other. And that's it. Don't make a big deal. And in between, the tip of the nose, whoop, whoop, and then a little bit of a nostril all darken like that. Less is more here. Do not draw a lot of lines. In portrait work, we do not draw, lots of lines. We try to kill the lines and we develop these structures by shading. Okay, if you got that, we can continue on. I'm going to kind of make this a little bit more up and then down like that. All right, shape that just a tad more as I work. There. Okay, we got the nose. Let's do the mouth. I'd say about a finger's width down below the tip of your nose is your mouth. And I'm not going to do a lot of lines for the mouth. In my chart here, we see just a little, kind of measuring where the tip of the nose is, the top of the mouth. This is the maxillary lip. So I'll just do a curve, a finger's width below that. So about here, like this. Whoop. And then I'm going to see this tissue. She's got kind of thin lips here, not particularly lush. So I'm going to kind of come down like that and stop and that. Don't do anything more. Generally speaking, the length of the lip is going to line up with your pupils. The midline between the upper and the lower, the maxillary and the mandibular lip is this. And it's got a little bit of a bevel, a bevel, and a bevel, and it stops right there by the pupil. So, kind of structuring, thinking about my pupil down here, my pupil right in the center down there. That's kind of where my lips are going to be, the midline. So, for her, I'm just gonna maybe go like this and straight over like that. The lower lip is this, a little bit of a curve, not much. And then maybe a very thin last line for the lower lip. Less is more. We're not really doing a whole lot here. But make sure the midline, we're gonna kind of darken like that and stop. All right. The ears, all right. They usually line up. You can see it back here in my chart, up over the eye, and the base of the lobe of the ear kind of lines up with the base of your nose. See my headset here? That's what the length. It's like a giant letter C there. So let's do that. The helix, the top of the ear, it was a little wider, so it comes up and over, and then let's have the lobe end there up and over and have the lobe end about there. She looks like an alien, but don't worry. And I don't want to forget the fact that she has pearl earrings. So I'll do pearl and a pearl, maybe broaden that a bit. Mm, looking pretty good. I want her eyes to be kind of happy, so I'm kind of taking them up a little bit a notch like so. You can always keep adjusting your eyes. So make sure your shapes are just the way you want them to look. Now, got everything in place there. I'm going to erase these guidelines. I don't need them anymore. We got enough of the image in place. So I'm going to start to do this. Just erase. Take your time. I use the electric eraser, but you can go in there with a regular eraser and do that. I might even take my pencil eraser and get in there and just quickly erase everything. Once you have everything lined up, you'd be amazed. It doesn't have to be perfect, your portrait, but at least you're not going to have a person's face off kilt a bit. It's going to look pretty normal. All right, use my air gun. Let's keep going. Got so much to do here. We're going to go to the next stage. You're doing well. Phase 3. What do I see? Here's where we start to develop the hairline. Remember, we had that original line like that. Um, Audrey has short hair, so it's going to be easier for us to draw her. I want to start with her bang line. I don't have bangs. You have bangs, maybe, but I do not. Um, I'm going to start this hairline, maybe a finger's width above her eyes here. Um, Before I do that, the eyebrows will go into play here so that we can kind of structure the hair, the bangs. So eyebrows are right above the eye, maybe a finger's width above. They tend to be a little bit wider in the inner area of the nose, the glabella area. So fingers width above, I'm going to come up from the canthus and kind of give a wide space there and then come up, over, and down off the edge of my paper here. She's got nice eyebrows like that. Same thing here. I'm going to come up, over, maybe come off the edge like that, a little bit wider. She has these nice arches, something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as you get it into play. I'm going to erase that a bit. That looks good. Now I can continue on to her brow, the bang line. So about a finger's width above that, I'm going to start her hairline. Just watch me as I work. It kind of comes up, comes down. There's this nice kind of a wisp here. She's got gorgeous bangs coming down. So I'm going to go there, hook, a little bit of a hair wisps there. And then it kind of comes off to the side and just going to head down towards her ear down here. Don't worry about it. Just kind of make sure you get it into play. Looks pretty good on my end. Hmm. Now, she does have a head of hair. Right now, we just have the face area, and that's just the skull line. We got to create hair. So it's like a halo going right above and over, and it's going to end on either side by the ears. So let's just kind of keep moving there. I'll start right at this ear, very, very tight. It kind of comes down, head out, and then a finger's width above the skull. I'm just going to kind of come around and sort of watch what I'm doing here to shape the headline. Just take your time with it, kind of comes to a little bit of a point, not really a point, but it's up and high. And it's only about 2 fingers width up. Just follow everything I'm doing here. Kind of comes off, kind of close, a finger's width down across and around the head again, right into the ear. Something like that. Don't worry about the shape, just kind of keep moving with it. You can always adjust it as you're working. That looks pretty good. Um, moving down. I see the eyes. The only thing I'm going to do for the eyes is I'm going to kind of clarify them, maybe make them a little longer and wider as I work. But I'm going to add the eyelashes. That's going to really make the eye come to life and broaden it, make it a little bit larger. I don't want her to have sleepy eyes, so I'm coming up a little higher on mine too. There. Now I'm going to add her eyelashes. I don't know, I'm just adjusting as I go. Oh, yeah. Eyelashes, they grow starting in the center of the eye, straight up. And these are curved this way, 1, 2, 3, and maybe some long eyelashes. She's got a considerable amount of makeup on, so I'm going to make those eyelashes pretty long. Starting about here, I'll come up, curve, 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 curve this way, all the way to the edge. Nice and beautiful. See that? They're coming alive. Then the lower eyes, I have lashes coming out like that, and it goes about 3/4 of the way around the lower edge of her eye. But I'm going to leave a little space between those lashes and the eye structure itself to create a shelf of the eye. So I go like that, and I stop like that, and I stop. And we can develop them later. We're going to use other pencils to do that. There are two highlights in her eyes here and here, so I may do that, a little circle there and there, but I'm just going to remind myself not to color in. Looks pretty good. Eyes look about even. Okay. Let's continue on. Got the hairline, got the mouth. I might just kind of make my mouth a little bit thinner here as I'm working. So if you're doing well, I can look at your drawings, but I'll keep moving. Got the basic structures here. Let's go to the next stage. This is the final phase. Now she has a part and some highlights in her hair, so I have to be able to capture that as well. Very, very dark, short hair. Beautiful satin uh, blouse that it's not even a blouse. I think it's a jacket. I'll show you the original inspiration. Look at it. It's satin. So you can see these dark shadows here and some shiny satin. I imagine it like maybe green or blue. Beautiful coat with a button and a side button. She's got some collarbones, the clavicles, and this mastoid muscle. So let's try to see if we can do that. Have my drawing basically done. I'm going to do erasing of this skull line. You don't see a person's skull because the hair is covering the head, so you got to get rid of that. Take a pencil eraser very quickly. Hope you see that. So it looks a little bit more normal. Now her ears are kind of coming out a little wider. I might narrow those down a bit. It's better. All right. Now let's start doing the highlights. A little bit of hatching, maybe some more hatches here at the top, just to get the idea that you don't color those in too much. And then she's got this part right about there. That looks about right. Maybe I'll widen this head a little bit. That looks good. Now the shoulders. I love the collar. Let's just kind of build that. I just kind of take a dip up and off. Head to mid shoulders on my portraits. They just kind of drop off the edge of your paper down. The collar is going to come down, across, and up. And then it comes up the shoulder here. And let's let it just drop off. Yeah. Um, Kind of part of that collar comes down. I'm going to do some kind of an S-shaped curve here and maybe here, making some structures here, only to shade it in later. I'm going to do her clavicle. This is the collarbone right about there. Mastoid muscle coming down. She looks pretty elegant. And button. Got the closure here, a nice big button. Maybe a smaller button here with a loop. And then that other collar dropping. This is dropping head to mid shoulders like all of my other portraits. You might find that you'll restructure maybe a little more jaw, a little length here, a bit more jaw, kind of making this head shape come out to the size and what you want it to look like. Keep working on that. Going to take a quick peek at what you've got. Okay, should be looking pretty good. Take your time. Give a few moments to help you kind of work on that as we begin to think about shaping this into more of a three-dimensional portrait, not just a flat two-dimensional drawing, what you got there. So take your time. And I'm going to switch back over to camera two, and I can continue to shape. All right, switch back over. This is advanced. Yeah, I got a lot going on here. Audrey, I'll put her here and we'll work together on it. Yeah, this is my portrait here, so let's kind of keep that in mind. And I'm going to start with the darkest values first. I have a 7B black, an 8B black, a 6B regular. I'm going to use a tissue. I'm going to use maybe a blending stump and definitely your electric eraser. So start with the eyes. They are the windows to the soul. And don't forget, we have some highlights in there. So give yourself a second to kind of work on the drawing. She has a degree of eye makeup on, so I'm going to thicken this up here. I think my camera was on mute for a moment there. And then I'm going to do the eyelid nice and thick and her eyelashes. They're kind of, remember the curves. They start this direction and then straight up and then a few this direction, straight up, and then I'm going to just spread them out. I'm going to make them pretty long. Around the lower eye, I am now going to take that 7B pencil and make these beautiful eyelashes just a little bit below the eye. So there's a slight shelf in the eye. Then I'm going to go up and do the eyebrows. I'm going to stay with the 7B black. Eyebrows are not just colored in. She does have eyebrow pencil on there, but it's wider here. The eyebrows kind of go up and over in this direction. Up and over in this direction, basically. But I want to see the hairs on there. I don't want you to just have it covered in and colored. Show a little bit of hair like that, and we'll get done. It's really nice that she has, do a little bit more hair there. She has these dark brows. And I'm going to come back in here with an 8B black too, because I want to kind of represent them pretty well. But that's it. I'm going to do the pupil. I'm going to highlight two little circles there. I don't want to color it in. And then I'm going to just draw black. Something like that. Make sure any highlight you do is exactly perfect, the same location in both eyes. Otherwise, she's going to look lopsided. That's pretty good. My 7B black allows this precision. So that's why I'm using it. But I'm going to want to go darker. I'm going to do the canthus or the tear duct right there. I'm going to do a little line. You should do that. There. Going to keep going down with my 7B and only going to just do a little bit of a subtle line there for her nostrils, the tip of her nose, and well, these are the nostrils. This is the side, the nose, the cartilage. The lips, she's got pretty thin lips, actually. The lower lip is kind of full. I'm not going to do lots of lines. I'm only going to do a curve here that matches the tip of her nose. And then I'm going to do this midline. And maybe a line here, and maybe a little bit of a curve like that. You're getting a sense. We've got the basic facial features. Now I'm going to still stay with the same pencil and I'm going to outline. I kind of want her to stand out. So I have to outline all of my structures, including her face. Go kind of light on that one. Sometimes I turn my paper upside down because my hand naturally rotates on my wrist from left to right. So I want to get around the chin and the cheek line very, very carefully. See that? Woo, go right up. Get a nice chin line. If you have to erase because you got some lines in there that you don't want, you should go back and do that. Just clean it up. So it's a nice curve. Don't worry, we're going to kill that line eventually with shading, so I'm not too concerned. I'm going to do this, make sure that I have a highlight in the hair. And I'm going to do part line and kind of do some free hair here, kind of come down, a couple of hair there, wisp, wisp, and then come down right to the ear. And don't forget to outline your pearl. I have a little bit of wisp of hair right in here in her ears. She's got cute hair, and it kind of comes down pretty low. Go overboard, just stop there. I'm going to outline the rest. I know I'm working pretty quickly. I will outline the mastoid muscle. Remember, you can see it in my neck hair. My head rotates left and right, holds up your head. So let's make her look just a little bit more elegant. And then the clavicles, the collarbones. Make sure I'm outlining everything here for that beautiful satin, you know, collared dress that she's wearing. Or maybe it's a suit coat. I don't know, but it's satin and it shimmers. Take that original picture out again. See it? Shimmery. Oh, all right. We've got a basic two-dimensional drawing, but it's very, very flat. Two-dimensional. There's no shape to it. So here's where we got to work harder. I'm going to move into shading the facial features. You're done well. Excellent. Let's move on. I'm going to take not the dark black graphite. I'm going to work with more subtle graphite. It's the regular. So 6B regular. It's my favorite pencil. There is a gradient of color for all of these pencils. If you remember from other classes, let's see if I can find it. Hmm, oops. Yeah. The graphite regular has two ingredients, clay and graphite. Clay is hard, so we say H, and it doesn't smudge. Clay is very, very hard. So it's used for writing, pencil, letters, whatever have you. It's not going to smear. But the graphite is bold, so we say B. And the more graphite powder, it's a powder that looks like this. Ooh, graphite powder. And the darker it gets, the more graphite in the pencil, the softer it gets, but the darker and bolder it gets. So we say B, B, 2B, 4B, 6B, 8B. Look at how dark that's getting. But this type of powder can be blended and spread. And that's when you're using the blending stump to do that and smush color there and really create form and shape. It's almost like paint. So I'm going to take a 6B regular, has a considerable degree of graphite powder in it. So it's very versatile. It's my favorite pencil. If I have two squares, you're going to take the pencil, hold it halfway down sideways, not using the tip, but the side of the pencil has greater surface area, and you're going to shade very, very lightly her face. I'm not asking you to go to the tip and go really hard with pressure because look at how dark it gets. That is not what we're going to do. We're going to shade using a very, very light hatching stroke with the 6B pencil. Now I got light hitting her face. If you're looking at my hand now, there's a shadow cast over the face. The light is coming from above, straight down on her nose. But the sides of her face that go back into the distance, or say into the paper, down, are shaded. So we have to shade them to make it look like she's rounded off. So, how we do that? The circumferences of anything will round them off. So, I'm going to take this 6B pencil and I'm going to start right at the bang line and I'm going to just do a little hatching very, very, very lightly all around the outer edges of her face. See, it's about an inch in. See how I do that? Come down, 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 very, very lightly. Do not spend a lot of time with that. Just kind of get in there and do this little shading. Kind of goes up and into the cheek there right and around there. Don't do anything more than that. The forehead too. The bangs, our hair cast a shadow on the top of our forehead too. So, gotta do that. That's it. That looks pretty good. Now I do need to do the bridge of her nose. Everybody has the bridge of the nose, but I don't want, I'm not doing any lines here. This is what we call sfumato, um, killing the lines by using graphite tonal values of gray. Sfumato. It's an Italian word. It means smoky. Sfumato. Leonardo da Vinci uses this. The Mona Lisa was a big example. So we're just kind of graying ideas to create the bridge of the nose. We have an orbital arch here where your eyes are in the socket. The brow bone is up there. So it casts a shadow on the eye. So I'm going to use that idea. Look at my face. See my brow bone here? And see my eyebrow? There's a lot of shadow in there, right? So what I'm going to do is come down from the eyebrow here. I'm going to start to shade very, very lightly with my 6B. It's like a paintbrush. And I'm going to come down straight towards the nostril. Stop. Same thing here. Straight towards the nostril. Stop. Whoop. Be careful. Don't go too much. I'll come down a little bit. And that's it. I'm getting it. I'm getting a brow bone here. and a nostril. Stop. She has I'm going to sort of make the structure of her nose. So I'll come down very, very, very subtle. Come down to this cartilage area here and here. Maybe come around the nose like that. And stop. Very, very subtle. We're gonna smooth this out later, but let's just kind of do it very, very subtle. It takes practice to do that one. And then I'll come around here, here, here. Now I'm going to take my hand. Some artists use blending stumps, but I don't. Whenever I'm working with people, especially life-like portraits, I'm using my hands to get this stuff done. So I'm going to take my ring finger and I'm going to go like this in small circular motions. Look at that. I'm going to spread and smudge this graphite like almost like blush round. Ooh, look at that beautiful image. I'm going to bring the graphite in, create maybe rouge, maybe a little cheek color around, highlight, come back into the nose area. Maybe I'll use my pinky if it's a little smaller, and I'll blend. I do want to narrow out the nose. It looks like I could use a little bit more here, so I'll take the graphite again and come in a little darker. Straight down. You don't want anything to look like it's a line, so you have to be really careful with that. I'm just going to narrow it here, so I'm going to come in a little bit more around there. Looking better. Kind of using my hand again to get in there. We will continue to work with that one, but her nose is looking pretty. I like that. I do have to do the lips and I'll refine the eyebrows, but we're not going to use lines for the lips. We're going to take a 6B regular. I'm going to shade in the tissues that create your lip. The maxillary lip, hers she has a degree of lipstick on it, so I can kind of come in here and shade with my 6B. Whoop, like that. I'm lucky that she has this lipstick on. And there's some shadow work right about here. It's a little darker towards the top lip and the bottom lip. And then the lower circumference of the lip, I'm just going to do this around the edges, hatching. I do want to leave a highlight in the very center of her lip. Very, very subtle. You'll take a 7B black on that lip. Make sure, actually going to go with 8B, that the midline is really dark. And make sure your pencil is really sharp so you see that at least. Ton a small lip line there, if at all. But this is where the petal hits the metal, and I'm going to take a blending stump, my tortilla, and I'm going to push the graphite towards the center. And I'm going to leave a highlight right there in the middle. Oh, it's pretty, isn't it? She doesn't have really lush lips, Audrey Hepburn. They're kind of thin. Sometimes they say the more lush the lip, the warmer the personality, but I think Audrey Hepburn had a warm personality. But there, gorgeous. We're done. Now we got to go into shaping the hair and the jacket that she's wearing, the satin coat. So I've already outlined with 7B black, got most of my outlines done, but I do need to do the hair. And the way I want to do it, normally a large portrait like this, I would be using a paintbrush and using powders to get this covered very quickly. But I'm not, no, you don't have powders. So what you're going to do is take the 6B regular graphite pencil and you're just going to color in the hairline very quickly. So I'll do it. And don't color in the highlight. This area is where you're going to leave it white. You can see the highlights. And down. It's kind of this wisp stuff that's going on. I go to the side using this, holding this like a paintbrush halfway down. I'm hatching. You're not down there at the tip. You want to go light. Put a little pressure. I don't care if it's, messy here. I just want to get the color in. Sometimes I turn the paper too. Sloppy, get it done. Get something in there. And there. Once I have that and go around, she has got sideburns too. Come down in here and here. All right. Once I have that, I'm not going to use a blending stump for this. I'm going to use a tissue because this is a big surface area and I want to get it covered quickly. So I'll go in there and I'll take a tissue on my pointer finger and make a tent. And in small circular motions, I will spread and smudge this graphite. Look at how it's darkening right away. And there it's got kind of moving into that little area. Here, round, stop, there. It's all about layering in graphite work. Now it's the beginnings of it, but we got to get it darker. What do? I'm going to go in there. I'm going to take my king of the mountain here, the 8B black graphite pencil. And I don't want to ruin the face that I took so long to sculpt. Oh, I don't want to do that. So what I tell students is if I put my hand down here and start working on hair, I'm going to smudge that face. So take a baking sheet of parchment paper or wax paper. I can still see through it. There's her face. I know what I'm dealing with, but I'm not going to get my hand and mess that up. Not only that, my hand will get full of graphite powder. Some artists will wear gloves, so that prevents that, but I don't want my hand to smudge her face. So I'm going to go with 8B black, and I'm going to start to color very quickly all around the edges. Get that done. Come in here. See how dark that is? Come in here. Come around. A first layer. It's kind of colored. There's some darkness here, and here, and then here. I come down and around. See the direction of hair flow like that, going pretty quick. And some hair wisps here, whoop, and here. But you can see now how these darker tonal values are going to look pretty nice right against her skin tone here. You got to match facial skin tone with hair. If one is too light and the other too dark, the portrait's going to look lopsided. So she's got a nice blend. Her skin tone is kind of peachy, and this hair has a nice dark value that matches her face. So keep going with that. Scribble. If just use that AP black really hard. I don't care. Just get it colored quickly. Scribble, because you're going to now blend that with a Kleenex tissue, not a blending stump, because it's way too much surface area here. This is a big area, this head. So I keep going. Sometimes I turn my paper sideways, still keeping the parchment paper over her face so I don't, you know, ruin all the work I did. And there's a part here, so I'm going to leave it highlighted somewhat. Don't worry about it too much and get up there and get the top of her head. Once I get it covered with the first initial pass, I can now take my Kleenex tissue and use my finger, my pointer finger, make a tent, and small circular motions just come in here and blacken the whole head like that. Now, this is small enough to get this done within a class time, but my larger portraits would be taking me weeks to get all this stuff done. But for today, this looks pretty good. You know, you got a dark black tonal value. I would smudge it more. I would probably come back to this, but I'm going to move on because hair is one part of it, but we still have to do her collar and her neckline. Last thing I would do is take an electric eraser and maybe highlight more of this. Take command just like a pencil and do hatching work like that. And then in here, a little bit of part and maybe a little bit more highlights there. We'll stop. I might smudge it a little bit just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. There. Now I need to get down to the collar and create more going on here. Her neckline. So, my outlining here, I'm going to use again my 6B black and I'm going to create shadow. Uh, Looking at my face here, my chin is casting a shadow on my neckline. So I have to do that for her as well. I'm going to kind of kill the line here by doing the shadows. So 6B pencil will come right in here and shade right along the neckline. And here, the mastoid muscle, I'll cross hatch across it like that. The clavicles or collarbone, I'll do cross hatch like that. And this side of the neck, I have to create that shadow as well. So Teacher Ann's going to get in there, kill the line by shading dark tonal values. I'll come all the way down the edges of her neckline. It's so gorgeous. You just want to do about a half an inch of shading with hatching and stop. Make it pretty dark too in this area and stop right along the neckline. Now that you did all that, now you can take a Kleenex or even your finger. I will take a Kleenex because it's a pretty big surface area. And I'm going to grab that graphite and pull it down right towards the center of her neckline. Down and stop. Down right toward the middle and stop. And smudge. And I've got this beautiful neckline as well. And I've killed the lines that I used when drawing. I might even go smoother in here, darken it just a cinch, a little bit more. Darken this one a little bit more. There. That looks beautiful. Now the top of her face is light enough, but there's some shadow down in here. Make sure everything is nicely evened off. There. That looks pretty good. Can go even darker if you want, but I'm going to smudge. Um, this all looks pretty good. For the color, you can work it out at home. I'm going to just do one side here quickly. I'm going to take an 8B black and get the shadow sides. You can see it so much in the original portrait here. So just kind of come in here and shade this in. Not the whole thing, but you get the idea. And then maybe here on the neckline, I'll come in a little bit. I'm looking for contrast here. I'll come down here along the edge, maybe down in here, contrast. My button, I'll outline. So I see that. Gonna outline in here, contrast along the edge of her collar. Beautiful. And then outline here a bit. Every artist will do it slightly differently. But I'm gonna stop right about here maybe. And I'll use a little bit of 6B regular as well to gray it, just because there is some color tones in here. And I stop right about here because I'm going to grab the graphite and pull it down with a Kleenex. These graphite pencils are so versatile that there's a lot of powder in them. See that? And stop. Just the tops. It's not about the dress, it's about her portrait, so you don't have to worry so much about this clothing, but get some kind of color in there. So from there, I'm going to take a Kleenex, my handy dandy tissue, put a tent on it, and I'm going to grab that graphite and let it drop. Portraits drop head to mid shoulders. You can even color that a bit. Isn't she pretty? She's got some nice tonal values. The dark kind of contrasts here are matching the contrast in her hair. You'll work on the hair a little bit more. Sometimes I put a smoky sort of setting in the background because it's kind of boring. like this, and most of my portraits do have a background, but it is not the main focus of a portrait. This guy has the dark in the background. The children here have some what illusion of trees going around them, head to mid shoulders. They're dropping off. You don't even see their arms. A beautiful way of just kind of having them drop off, kind of coming into the clouds. This one, a little bit more going on in the background, but mostly it's the portrait that you're focusing on. So, with that being said, you're not going to be able to do a lot of graphite powder. We're going to create the graphite powder very, very quickly, and we're going to sharpen our pencils at the same time. If I have a sheet of paper here, I have my sandpaper that we all have in the kits. I'm going to sharpen my 6B pencil because you know what? It's getting weak here and I need a point. And I'm going to grab the graphite and make some powder by sharpening it on the sandpaper, circular motion. See that powder? You don't need much. Less is more. It's a small image. I'm going to create clouds. And the way I do that is again, taking my hand and with very, very small circular motions, I'm going to create a cloud. I'll dip my finger into it and I'll go get my hand rolling and I'll start doing this. You don't want blobs of black, so you have to be really, really careful. Keep the hand moving up in here. And in this regard, I'm creating a framework actually around Audrey's face. So it's kind of highlighting her a little bit more. You see the highlight around the head, and yet there's this dark little bit of cloud coverage going around. You can do as dark as you want with that. I went pretty light. Do not go heavy, heavy. Just pick up a little bit of the graphite, not much. Less is more, I say to students all the time. So she's looking pretty good here. You're going to tweak it. You're going to add different layers. I'm going to post my drawing in the classroom so that you can use it and refine the image. This is not something you're going to get done right here in the class time. It's going to require more time on your part to go in there and sort of refine the work. There she is. This is pretty good, but we have a lot more to go from this to this. See the difference? She's a lot lighter here. You got to add more layers of the 8B black. So just take your time with it. And I'm going to look for the portraits next time we meet, or you can post me when you're done with it. I can take a look at it, but it's going to require a little bit more refinement. Anyway, it was fun working with you. I hope you liked doing Audrey Hepburn. Gotta go. Hope you had fun.